Motorola being back in the news for being a true flagship again, I wanted to look back when they were the king of the mid-range and take a look at the successor to the X series with the Moto X4. Released in 2017, the Moto X4 had a 630 Snapdragon processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of storage, and a 5.2-inch 1080p LCD. For the time, you could also still get USB-C turbocharging, a headphone jack, and a beautiful glass design that honestly rivaled the flagships of even today. Does anyone miss the physical fingerprint scanner yet? I know I do. Always dependable, always working. While I absolutely adore the design of this phone, it is a fingerprint magnet. I suggest throwing a cover on. In partnership with Google, it was actually the first phone to be released with Android One, meaning you would be supported and up to date for the life of the product. Initially being released with Android 7, it sits at Android 9 with an Android security patch of March 1st, 2020. Moto Actions makes its return with its traditional wave for on and off display, chop for torch, and twist for camera, enabling you to even switch from the rear to the front camera with that very same twist. With an incredible feel in the hand, I found myself watching a lot of my favorite movies and programs on this phone. It was very fluid and very visible, even in challenging light conditions. No matter where I was, I enjoyed everything from your traditional movies, YouTube videos, pro wrestling, and even cartoons. One of my favorite pastimes with this phone was emulation. Because of its screen size, I love to kick back and think to the days when things were simpler and 16-bit graphics ruled the world. I'm happy to tell you that the Snapdragon 630 processor did amazingly well with NES, SNES, N64, PlayStation, and some PSP games. Powering all of that emulation goodness was a turbocharged 3300 mAh battery, which was able to get me from 0 to 100 in about an hour and 40 minutes. Speaking of the front of this phone, it included a front 16 megapixel camera that is probably the biggest disappointment overall. Everything was washed out, and the video wasn't anything special either, topping out at 1080p 30 frames per second. The real stars of the show were the two rear cameras. Challenging LG at the time, it included a 12 megapixel and an ultra wide 8 megapixel camera with 120 degrees field of view. Almost every shot was usable for social media and didn't disappoint. One of the most important aspects of rear cameras is that you have confidence in them. And thankfully with the Moto X4, every shot was usable and every shot was enjoyable to take. Moto also decided to give you a whole host of camera features that you most likely will never use. Video from the rear cameras topped off at 4K 30 frames per second, but I prefer to use 1080p 60 frames as that's where it was the most stable and colors came across vibrant. In conclusion, my thoughts on the Moto X4 for its performance and at its time is I would easily pay $399 for this phone in 2017 and even 2018. Today you can find it on the used market for anywhere between $85 and $150. Whether it's your main phone or your backup, the Moto X4 is definitely Thorn approved. With that being said, follow me on social media at Ultimate Thorn on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, and comment down below. Did you own the Moto X4? Would you still pick it up today? Talk to you in the comment section. Thanks for watching.